I'd like to entertain a motion to accept the minutes of the last meeting. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Okay, good. So we'll go, I understand last week there was a couple public hearings. I appreciate that we conducted those. The first one here is 1250 Brown Street. This is for a solid fence. Is there any questions or comments on this thing? Mr. Kamer?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Last week, during the public hearing, I did ask a question in regards to the fence being along the sidewalk and in regards to future maybe possibilities of construction, in regards to utility construction or anything that might pull up those slabs of the sidewalk and that can damage that fence. I don't know if you got an answer for me.
Yeah, I'm still working on that.
Okay.
Would you like to take time, Mr. Kamer? Or?
That's up to the committee, but moving forward in regards to just this particular one, I'd probably oppose the usage. But I do want my question answered, though. So
yeah, we can take time. Let's get your answer before we vote.
Okay, I appreciate it.
I guess the one question I would have is that I assume that our 1250, that the traffic engineer reviewed this?
Yeah, traffic engineer.
Because this is a south fence, right?
Reviewed these. That's correct.
And his recommendation was?
His recommendation was for approval based on you know, where that is, and also this is, I believe, the one where we would want him to angle it at the corner.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. Mobian probably has a question.
No, my question has to do with, what was the question? I didn't quite understand.
My question?
No.
Mr. Kamer's question?
No, thank you, Mr. Chairman. No, I'll explain a little more because I didn't really go into detail. No, the fence, according to what I saw, I drove by there twice, the fence is right along the public sidewalk. My concern is 5 years down the road, 6 years down the road, 10 years down the road, if the city or a utility company like Dominion East Ohio or the electric company had to go and somehow remove slabs of sidewalk, or there was some pieces that were damaged that had to be removed and fixed, if that contractor or the city somehow damaged that fence, because this fence is right up basically against that sidewalk, are they liable to, you know, be responsible to fix that fence? So hopefully that makes sense.
Well, I would just, it does. I understand where you're coming from on that. And I wanted to get an official, I know because Public Works, I'm sure, deals with this all the time, because people can have, you could have a chain link fence right up to the sidewalk. Mm-hmm. That could be damaged as well.
Right.
So any kind of a, I mean, people, when you're tearing up sidewalk, and it's also oftentimes the responsibility of the property owner to replace their sidewalk as well. Mm-hmm. So it's not always the city going in there and doing that, but I understand with the other utilities and that kind of thing being in there, it's a possibility. Again, it could happen in many other circumstances. You could have a 30-inch high solid wall going right out to the sidewalk without having to come here for special approval as well.
And like I said last week, when I drove by, I noticed there was a tree on the double strip that's kind of uprooting the sidewalk. So this could be a possibility in the future that the homeowner or a future homeowner could take advantage of our sidewalk program, where the tree would get removed and the sidewalk would get fixed. But I just want to make sure that if the city or a contractor's out there fixing a sidewalk a couple years down the road and they accidentally take their backhoe or jackhammer, you know, hits the fence, you know, I want to make sure we as a city or the contractor doesn't have to foot a bill for a brand new fence. I think you guys get where I'm coming from. I mean,
and I believe in this case the fence is up, I think, 18 inches from the sidewalk. So as Mike said, we'll talk to Public Works, I think, on two fronts, both this particular location as well as, like Mike said, are there cases, this has undoubtedly been a situation before, and what's the precedent and how have those been resolved?
Yeah, I'm sure there's a process.
Based on
Ms.
the conversation, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. Based on the conversations we had recently, is this fence legally installed based on the distance from the sidewalk and the height of it, everything else is okay?
Well, that's why he needs a conditional use. It's actually not.
It's not.
He's requesting a conditional use to retain it.
So could this, if we grant the conditional use, could we also include a statement relative to what his concerns are? If anything happens on the sidewalk that needs to be addressed and your fence is inadvertently damaged.
You're talking
that-
like kind of almost like a disclaimer as one of the
Yeah,
conditions.
just to be
or something.
included as part of that, just so they know that we are granting you this conditional use, but if anything should happen in repairing the sidewalk or anything else, then the damage would be yours to repair. I mean, it just,
It'll be up to council.
I mean, that would make sense since
Yeah.
the councilman in the ward is raising.
Yeah. Well, to find out from engineering what the practice is and what the, I'm sure that
that.
there's, cool. We'll go ahead and take time, if that's okay, Mr. Kamer. I'd recommend time on item number 1. Is there a motion for time on 1? Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Ayes have it. Good. 2 is conditional use to retain a solid fence at 1519 Preston. I spoke to the ward council person. Yeah, Mr. Milkovich?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. and Mrs. Hazlitt came down last week to give testimonial on this fence, and a couple of months ago, Mr. Hazlitt walked me along his property. This fence has been there for X amount of time. It's a matter of security and also privacy. I would humbly ask the committee to affirmative vote. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. Thank you, sir. And again, I'm sure that the traffic engineer checked this out and checked off on it, so. Very good, that's cool. Is there a recommendation for a favorable report with suspension of the rules? Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. 3 is changing the name of Greenspire Lane to the Greenspire Circle in the Lake of the Woods subdivision. I understand that the ward council person is in favor of this particular change, and that this will, in the future, avoid confusion, because there's a similar street named in Fairlawn, and we did receive some correspondence from residents that are concerned. So is there any questions or comments on this? If not, is there a recommendation for a favorable report with suspension of the rules? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Against, the ayes have it. Very good. So we'll file 4, yes, and we'll take time on 5, because that's, taking time on that, and then I guess time on the balance, short of any concerns or comments. With that, we're adjourned. Thanks.
Thank you.